Hi, I'm Al Goff.
And I'm Miles Miller.
Hi, this is John Schneider.
Hi, it's John Glover.
This is Justin Hartley.
This is Steve DeKnight.
This is Aaron Ashmore.
This is Cassidy Freeman, and you are listening to Starkville.
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 Starkville. Starkville House of L.
Starkville House of L.
Starkville House of L.
The podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Starkville's House of L at smallvillepodcast.com. This is our episode for the Smallville Season 3 episodes, Perry and Relic. I'm Derek.
I'm Steve.
And joining us today, back again, one of the all-time favorite guest stars on Starkville's House of L. His humble upbringings from a simple street mime and the I'm just going to give you all background and I just can't do it. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Michael Bailey, thank you so much for joining us today, sir. Nope, he's miming. Okay, he's in the box. He's in the box.
Sorry. Get him out of the box.
Get him out. Get him out. He can't breathe.
Get him out of the box.
He can't
There's
breathe.
not a lot of air in there.
No, thank you guys. One, for having me back on. Two, for Steve not ducking me this time.
Oh.
Like he did last time.
Oh.
Now, wait a second. Listen, I was too busy watching and reading Crisis on Infinite Earths and trying to stay awake the whole time.
Yeah, well, that's okay. Because I got through Secret Wars on the can this morning. So it's
That's
okay.
right. Well, that's what we call a fun read. It's everything comics should be.
What on earth?
we still have to somehow film you and I like in like suits standing on stage like it's an actual like, presidential debate stage.
Oh yeah, behind our little desk. Yeah. You've got the crisis. You've got the crisis title on your on your podium. I've got the Secret Wars title on mine.
All right, go take here. You each have 1 minute. Defend, Bailey.
It wasn't designed to sell toys. For one thing, it was designed to correct a perceived problem that I don't agree with. And it actually mattered.
It being Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yeah.
Also, it actually had more than like 7 characters, 7 heroes and 7 villains. It had everybody. And spanned the entire universe. And the bad guy was well defined and wasn't a voice in the clouds.
You sure about that? Because that bad guy was just a voice in the clouds until he got some armor on his body and all those shadows came together. But
at least he knew how to use a toilet, Steve.
Well, the Secret Wars, I'll tell you straight up, Secret Wars was designed to sell toys. I think that's the argument for it on the good side right there, all in of itself. It used its most popular heroes, that Marvel used their most popular heroes and villains to actually have a battle that you could see that spanned 12 issues. And then you had the one villain step in and do his thing, taking the ultimate power for himself and having the whole showdown with Galactus. And it was just a great time. Fun read. You get the black suit out of that for Spider-Man. You get the Thing sticking around on Battleworld for a while, which leads to his own little story arc and his thing. The Hulk holding up a mountain to save the lives of all the other heroes. I don't know. It just, to me, that was the thing that was lacking in Crisis on Infinite Earths. I'm like, where are the people that I actually know and care about? The thing that Secret Wars doesn't have, that Crisis on Infinite Earths did have, are the most awesome covers done by George Perez. Everything about the look of Crisis is glorious. And Secret Wars looks cool, don't get me wrong, but man, if Perez would have got his hands on a Secret Wars type situation, it would have been a glorious time. I freely concede that point.
But I still love Steve.
But unfortunately, you went over, so you lose.
No,
son of a. Well, let me ask you this: what do y'all know about Slim Goodbody?
That he's a figure of horror?
Yeah, I was just thinking about him today. You know, do you think they ever decided, hey, let's take this bodysuit and let's do the same thing we've done on the rest of the body with the face? And they maybe they tried that and they realized just how freaky that would have been. Because I thought about that.
I don't know, that Richard Simmons looking guy in that body stocking, just even as a kid, I was freaked out by that. I think
it was like Richard Simmons' brother or something.
Yeah. So there was something about the hair and the fact that you saw his like circulatory and digestive system. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
can I have Muppets telling me, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12? I would appreciate that.
You know what? I wish we would have gotten a Slim Goodbody Muppets crossover, because I think they would have had some crazy commentary about what was going on with him.
Cool. Now do the price of eggs. No, I'm just kidding. So, listen. Listen, let's talk about happy things. Let's talk about Smallville. Let's talk about the 49th and 50th episodes of the series, starting with one of my top 10 episodes of all time, 305 Perry, which, in my recollection, holds up just as well as it did the first time on repeat viewings. I've revisited it many times, and I would go so far as to say, in my opinion, that you have to take Christopher Reeve out of the running for this, because that would just overshadow everything else. I think one of the best legacy, I guess you could consider it legacy casting, even though it's not really prior implications other than being Annette O'Toole's husband. But
You mean like a legacy character?
well,
would you
yeah,
say?
sure, legacy character, but I think it's one of the best, most well done castings in the series of somebody from the comics, and I think McKeon plays it pitch perfect. Discuss.
Oh, absolutely. I appreciated that he got to be in a Superman property and wasn't just Lex Luthor's scientist,
Okay.
like he was in that
There you
first
go.
season episode of Lois and Clark,
Yeah.
where he basically played Volko. The thing that this show does well, and always did well, is in kind of reimagining characters, because we're not seeing them as we're normally introduced to them. When we're normally introduced to Perry White, he's usually sitting behind a desk.
Right.
And in television history at this point, you had two Lex Luthor, not Lex Luthor's, Perry White's, John Hamilton, and the great Lane Smith, who is the GOAT in my opinion.
Yeah.
Just putting that out there. Lane
No,
Smith is
I agree.
the all-time best Perry White. Just anybody that talks like this is just fantastic.
And sells
See,
it.
what you got to do is okay. The key to the Lane Smith voice, by the way, is you got to go Once you got the everything else is golden.
Funny enough, that's the key to the Al Pacino voice too. You just got to stretch that out a bit.
No, you gotta put a who in the front of it. Hoo-ah!
But no, showing him at a low point and having him introduced to Clark in those circumstances was actually a pretty bold move. And I remember at the time the people that hated this show, just complaining about that, like they're disrespecting this character. And I'm like, no, it just like, because really, most people, when they think of Perry, they think of Jackie Cooper.
Yeah.
In all honesty, if you're a boomer or a early Gen X kid, John Hamilton's probably in there too. But we've never seen Perry brought low or at a very low point. And the key to this series has always been being in Clark Kent's orbit is either going to be completely disastrous for you or it's going to make you a better person. And in this case, it made him a better person. And I love Michael McKean. I just,
Yes.
For years he was part of Lenny and Squiggy, but then those Christopher Guest movies started rolling out, and I was just like, this guy is just amazing. And seeing him on the show just made me happy.
I am anxiously awaiting the sequel to Spinal Tap that apparently is filming now, I think. So I've it's been a long time since I've looked forward to something like that I'm like, yes, that's going to be a breath of fresh air in cinema that I'm looking forward to. I'm a huge McKean fan. I grew up watching Lenny and Squiggy. Laverne and Shirley, excuse me. The
thing about McKean with the Lenny and Squiggy thing, it's like, yeah, I remember Laverne and Shirley and I remember Lenny and Squiggy, but like Michael McKean did that thing that's so rare for some actors to do, and that is he broke away from this character that had been huge on TV.
Yeah.
So that I don't immediately associate him
Yeah.
with that character from Laverne and Shirley. What I do think of when I think of him these days is like his turn in Better Call Saul as
So good.
as Odenkirk's brother was really, really good. Like he did that job of being a paranoid, scared of electricity but a brilliant legal mind. He did that so well. And in this episode with him, I do remember people. I'm like you, Bailey. I remember people being upset to an extent because people like, look, this was the early days of the internet, and people were learning how much we all love to complain about everything. And I do remember people being a little miffed about, tearing this character down or whatever. But the thing that they do in this episode, I mean, you said it so well, is they give him depth. He's not just a loser, drunk, skeezy tabloid reporter. He's not what the dude in season 1 was. I forget that guy's name that got in the fight with Jonathan during the tornado. But, he's not that guy. He's someone who was beaten down by the Luthers. And so he's the Perry White we meet is a Perry White who was a go-getter. He was, a Lois Lane type that wasn't afraid of anything, and then he ran into fear. And he's down on himself more than he's down on anything else. And that's why the drinking, that's why but he can't let go of that reporter thing. So this X-Styles thing that he's a part of, he's got to chase this, especially after he sees Clark, do the Clark thing. And then you've got the whole backdrop of the solar flare stuff that's going on with Clark in this episode, and it's just like, just when you think that Clark has avoided him, something else happens, and Perry's there, and he won't let it go. And it makes me, it opens the door for a neat thing in the future. Like if you were to be able to follow this Clark out to the future, before he gives up his powers to have a family or whatever, while he's still doing the Superman thing, to me, it leads me to think that Perry White is going to know when Clark Kent shows up and when Superman shows up that he's going to be a carrier of that secret. And because of this episode, I've always kind of wondered, does Perry actually know? And he's just sat on it and never said a word because he understands how important it is that no one knows. And I think an argument could be made for that. But when that tractor lands in front of him and he does the classic get rid of the alcohol thing, like
Pour out. Yeah.
I mean, that's just an old bit from movies and cartoons that goes back to the beginnings of cinema and television. And it just to pull that bit out, I thought was just so great.
Would have been better if he'd been in a boat in a lake. And then he's with like a cup of coffee and he just pours it out after that.
Yeah.
Just tosses it aside.
One of the greatest missteps, I think, of the end of this series, and I'm anxious to go back when we get there, because season 10 is not a season I have really revisited since the series went off the air. I've gone back to one or two. I've gone back to the finale a few times. I've watched Luther and Kent. I know once or twice, but as a whole, I have not returned to that final season. So in discussing it on the show, I'm looking forward to that. But I said at the time on the show, and it's something I'm probably going to say again when we get there, I think not having him in a guest star capacity in that 10th season was a misstep. He was kind of in the background. He was there were references, there were things of that nature at the beginning of the season, and then once or twice, and then of course we do get him once more in the finale in that voiceover. But McKean only returns actually to Smallville in one more episode in season 9 where he's dating Martha, which sounds ridiculous, but somehow worked. I enjoyed that episode immensely. Hostage, and but I think not having him back at least one more time was wrong, and even Al and Miles, I think during, it may have been between season 3 and season 4 did an interview and discussed him returning for season 4, that he was in the plans to come back at some point, and obviously didn't come to fruition for whatever reason. But I think his presence in the final season would have been a real aid for what they did there. As they
would you have had him as the editor-in-chief at the Planet, or would you just had him in a upper level position at the Planet?
That's a Bailey question, I guess. I don't know.
No, because I'm thinking about it, because one of the conceits of this show is that because it is not about Superman, it's about becoming Superman.
Yeah.
And some of the trappings of that are the glasses.
Yeah.
And having him be around Clark in that season, and then suddenly Superman shows up, it's just like, this is Perry White. He's going to suss it out. I by the way, agree with you. I have always, much like if you read Batman Year One, at the end, it's pretty obvious that Jim Gordon knows exactly who Batman is, and he just doesn't say anything about it because he can't. He would have to do something about it at that point. I believe that Perry knows. There have been 2 times where he's found out. One was terrible, which was during the Truth storyline in 2015, where he just gets mad at Clark and acts like J. Jonah Jameson. And then during the Bendis run, which made me leave the book for a little while as a reader, there's a very silent scene where Clark tells him, and he gives him a hug, and it's just more of a happy occurrence. Mm-hmm. But I think he knows because he's too smart not to know. But here's the weird thing about Perry White, though, as a character, is that if you're dealing with him on a television level, on like a series level, he's got depth. If you're not, he doesn't. I love Jackie Cooper to death. There's not much to his Perry White, except maybe in season 4 where not series, season 4. Superman 4.
I was going to say, until you get to Superman 4 and he goes and levies everything he's got and to buy the planet back. So
and for some reason does a very Southern thing and adds syllables to the word predator. Mm-hmm. To predator. It's just like, that's a weird line reading. So most people, I think, when they think of Perry White, they think of like Jackie Cooper. They think of movies where he's just the gruff guy sitting in the office. And you can't do that on television because that would get really boring after a while.
I expected Slime to come on you.
Yeah,
when you said
no,
that.
you got to say, I don't know for that.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Well, the thing is one of the things they did well in Lois and Clark with Perry White is he didn't interact that much with Superman.
Yeah.
He interacts with Clark and Lois a lot, but he doesn't get to interact that much with Superman. So it's viable that he would not know, that he might not have it all figured out because he's just dealing with pictures and everything else. But he still has a depth of character to him, with Alice and all that good stuff that goes on, and his relationship with Jimmy in his mentorship of Jimmy and everything. But yeah, in this, it takes that thing to a whole new. To me, it takes that character to a whole new depth. That I think one of the things as a Star Wars fan that is equally frustrating and interesting is they will. In the past, they have taken a character that might have been a background character and said, we're going to do a whole comic series about this character so that you know everything about them. Or here's this plot point that you might have had a question about, and we're going to do a movie or a series or a thing. I would read a 4 to 6 issue limited series about the rise of Perry White from this episode right here moving forward. How he comes up out, what happens with the information he's got on the Luthors, especially in light of what happens at the end of season 3 with Lionel. How does he work his way back into the planet and back into what people would call legit, reporting and that sort of thing. I think that could be an interesting story with the Michael McKean version of Perry White, because I'm like you, Derek. I wish he'd have been on the show more throughout the remaining seasons.
So I went back and looked because I could not remember what his actual title was at the start of season 10, but he was the foreign correspondent editor. at the start of season 10. He did rejoin the planet in season 4, and in the midst of all the Lionel Luthor stuff. I know he wrote another article about Lionel's conviction in season 6, and then we don't get another mention of him until he returns in season 9 with Martha. I think of that great shot of him in the basement of the planet with the logo on the wall up behind him and everything. And then, of course, season 10, he's, like we said, kind of in the shadows. He's mentioned a lot, but in 3 or 4 different episodes, I think. But obviously, we hear his voice at the end. So somewhere between the years of 2011 and 2013, he did become editor-in-chief at the Planet. Which, I worked at a newspaper for, 12, however many years, and we went through like 6 editors, so it's fully believable that would have happened. Like, I buy every bit of that.
Well, yeah, it's like the movie Spotlight, where the new editor comes in and it really shakes everything up. Right. So it's I can't imagine going through that 6 times.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, that's exactly. And that's not on. Obviously, it's not the Boston Globe, but on that level, it's very much. What are we doing different now? We just did something different. It's just now working. But as you said, this Perry is a disgraced journalist. We first figure out that he's more than that, of course, from Chloe, who always seems to get those moments in this show. Still lament that she's the only character that actually said the actual title of Superman, not just the word Superman, but the moniker of that Clark takes up. In the show, but right now he is a kind of a shock jock journalist. He's working for a outlet called X Styles, which is kind of that era's.
That's some early 2000s, man.
Yeah,
I mean, it is 2004 all over it.
It's very much a hard copy and meets Access Hollywood, meets all those kinds of programs.
Meets what was the Leonard Nimoy deal?
In Search of?
In Search of.
Yep. But he also had previously worked for the Metropolis Inquisitor, so he is referenced as one of the greatest reporters in all of Metropolis. I was always like, why didn't they say Kansas or make it bigger? He's just one of the biggest in Metropolis, but. Yes, Chloe does know who he is. He's in town hunting for the latest story for X Styles, which is covering the meteor shower, which is auspicious because it's also the day that all these solar flares happen to be hitting, and it's really kind of our first intentionally comedic episode of the. I mean, you can't cast somebody like McKeon and not have it be not. But every line delivery and so many have stayed with me. I can always hear him saying, "You're Johnny on the spot, Clark." Like I hear that in the back of my head when I think about this episode. Mm-hmm. I think about the principal authorizes new gym mats. I know I was riveted. That bit of him calling Clark out in the Talon. The walking in Memphis use at the end of this episode always rings true to me because A, of this episode, and B, I think about Steve singing that on Bill Street in 2012 at a piano bar.
Oh, it's good times.
So this one is etched in my memory for so many reasons, and I'd be remiss if I did not mention not only do we get Perry White in this episode, we also get Claire Foster in this episode. Thrown in DC character, which you wouldn't expect just to randomly pop up in an episode, and Professor Bailey may want to put on his tassel and tell us more about her, or may not. I don't know.
No, sir, I prepped for Perry White.
Okay, sorry. Moving on.
Claire Foster was not on the syllabus this semester.
Sorry.
No, it's funny because I always feel bad about that. It's like when I'm watching Superman and Lois, for example, and I pick out like 15. Like there was a recent episode that the character who is Gretchen Kelly is her real name is a character from Superman Alien. And it's just
Right,
like, okay,
right.
that's not a deep cut. That's
No,
something you
no,
suture
we talked
for
about that
afterwards.
on Superman Superman TV Talk the other day. It was like, okay, now you're just using stuff for the sake of using stuff. Like, there seems to be no greater reference here whatsoever.
So, I did my Perry White prep. Claire Foster, I would actually have to Google at this point, because the thing about reading so much is that my hard drive can only hold so much.
No, it's fine.
And I know back in the day I had the reputation for remembering everything, but I also went through the vid last year, and I get brain fog every once in a while. And Claire Foster is part of that.
Well, the only reason I remember is because she's a Jeff Loeb creation, and was pretty new at the time, because I want to say, I guess I could look it up right now, but 2001, 2002, like, she was in that new era, but Jeff Loeb had created her. But she was a psychiatrist for the Justice League at one point. She was Superman's psychiatrist. I think I want to say she was John Jones's psychiatrist in that era. I don't know. I can only retain so much, and the fact that I'm retaining that all
Superman, Martian Manhunter, and Starfire.
Okay. Well, look, I did something. I contributed, which is more than I could usually say. So for her to be thrown in as well, and yet another DC comic reference in this time period. But episode proper, give my usual details that I often start with, but because it's the three of us, I enjoy the conversation. This episode actually aired. Nope, that's the next one. That's Relic. I didn't know we were that close to the anniversary. Relic aired on November 5th, 2003. Perry aired October 29th, 2003. Written by Mark Verheerden and directed by Jeannot Schwartz.
No,
who also directed, of course, Supergirl and other episodes.
Supergirl and many episodes of Smallville.
Squirt.
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 I love Supergirl. Bailey's already mad at me.
I'm not mad at all. I just, it's funny that it comes up because I was talking Supergirl with my buddy Andy Leyland yesterday, and
of course you were,
because he was watching it, and I'm reminded of something that Michael French of Retro Blasting said, that basically the Argo people in that movie were like the hippies of Krypton.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't get that out of my head, that they're the ones that want color and everything.
Argo City was the commune. They were totally, they branched off at some point.
And the only thing that I'll add to it is that Zoltar, he got sent to the Phantom Zone before he basically went full blown Jim Jones on everybody.
Yeah.
So
it was. No, that's good. I like that, actually. No, they straight up broke off. They were like, "We're not doing this anymore." And they went full Manson family in some regards. I always loved. Now we're talking Supergirl. I always loved Supergirl because we actually got to see the Phantom Zone. Which as a kid was like a big deal to me, because they're in the prison.
Scary.
Yeah. Got to climb that mountain and all that stuff, and that was.
And then when he died, listen, you can say all you want to about Supergirl, but I look at Supergirl in a lot of ways the same way I look at Superman 4. It's not great. I think it may be better than Superman 4. It has its problems, but the heart that's there, I think, really works, and they go great distances to show. Though the powers are the same, there's a difference in the character of Super. She's not just Superman as a girl. There's a distinct difference in the attitude and the heart and everything else. And when they're climbing that thing and he sacrifices himself so she can keep going, which makes no sense to me, but it happens.
It's fine.
It's fine. It's fine. He dies, she lives, and then she comes up out of that thing. She's like, "The game is up, Selena." I'm like, yeah.
That score. I could listen to that score on repeat.
It's gold. Is it gold? It's Goldsmith.
It's Goldsmith. It's Jerry Goldsmith.
It's just straight up good Jerry Goldsmith. It's one of honestly, it's one of his best scores in my opinion. I
absolutely
think it's phenomenal. Okay. Anyway, moving on. Perry aired October 29th, 2003, the 49th episode of the series. Like I said, he is in town hunting for a story, and he's got his eyes set on Lana Lang, the cover girl for the Smallville tragedy from years before, as she was obviously infamously on the cover of Time magazine, crying because she watched her parents get pancaked.
Yeah, right. I was going to say, rightfully so, she's crying.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Move. That's what I say. Get out of the damn way. I mean, what's that? Oh,
Let's just keep standing here.
Look,
it's getting closer.
The fact that her parents are idiots doesn't mean that she shouldn't be sad over their demise.
Well, it runs in the family then, I guess. No, we love Lana. We love Kristen. Lana there's
very nice to meet in person.
Choices.
I will have to say.
Oh, she's wonderful, isn't she? She's so nice.
I had the pleasure of moderating her and Eric Johnson this past
Yeah,
Dragon
you
Con.
did. I actually brought that up at the Smallville convention a few weeks ago in Jersey, because she was referring to his recall of things from 23 years ago, and I was like, I just was talking to somebody about that who actually hosted the panel in Atlanta. So yeah.
Here's the thing. Lana is a victim of writing, I think, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But she's also but the portrayal is a victim of a very young actress still developing her acting chops.
Mm-hmm.
So but I'm not gonna in a fictional way dog on a child for crying over her stupid parents.
I'm not stupid.
Now come on, Derek.
How dare you?
But she, it's also like at this point, I'm like,
I said good day.
Good day. I'm also like, okay, but it's been how long now? Like I don't want to talk about it. Okay.
Well,
you sure
to
do.
be fair,
you sure do talk about it a lot for somebody who doesn't want to talk about it.
Well, she hasn't been back to the graveyard in a while, and on the show, at least on camera.
She sleeps out there, Steve.
And to be fair, and this is one of the areas where I really liked the portrayal of Perry White, is that he's like nothing else is going on, and when he slaps that Time magazine down, it's just like, oh, this is a trap, and I did not see that coming.
I'll take a triple cappuccino, a couple of those crawlers, and you, my lady. Let's talk all about you. But quickly, his interest turns from meteor shower and little orphan Lana to Clark Kent, as he thinks he witnesses all these things. But of course, booze has its ramifications also as well. A lot of Wild Coyote in this episode.
Yes.
Which is something we don't always get in the show, but we do. But we do, we see that Perry has all these ties, these backstories that implicate him with the Luthers, and other things. Lex is very aware of Perry. Their paths have crossed before. And, we learn the dirt that Perry manages to have on Lionel. The statute of limitations on murder never runs out. And I always liked when Lex is talking to him there, and he's like, "Why didn't if what you have is so bad, why wasn't he killed? Why did he just stop at your career? Why didn't he kill you himself?" And it's like, multiple copies, multiple attorneys in the event of my death. It's like, I like you. You're good.
Yeah, he does show that he's smart. He's crafty. He may not have the resources of a Lionel Luthor, but he's a crafty, smart dude that knows how to play in that pool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
he's not just a loser on a tabloid show that stumbles into greatness, and that's what I appreciate about the portrayal of that character. I feel like they really treated him well.
They really did. They did, and I don't want to gloss over Tom in this episode either, because I think this is a fantastic hour for Tom as well. He gets to do some different
you mentioned the comedy of it all, and one of my favorite things in all of Smallville, in the entire series, is when Clark goes to run away and the super speed kicks in, and then it stops just enough for you to see his face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what the? And
I kind of felt not as much, but a little similar when he was trying to run away when he's with Pete and he just runs normally. And I'm like, so this is what it looks like
Yeah.
when they're shooting
Right.
normally.
Yeah.
And now we're actually seeing it.
That scene has always bothered me, though. It's the only scene of the episode. I'm like, why there were so many choices made here? I don't understand. Okay, so he starts to run, and he's still jogging for a little bit before he gives out. But he's not even 10 yards away from Pete at that point.
Yeah.
And then Pete feels the need to lean over the top of the car. Your super stuff, give out! Like, it's right there. And Clark's just like, yeah, like, yeah. I got nothing, Pete. Like he turns around and talks to him at a totally normal voice level after.
And that's the thing that I had.
Yeah, like, and then there's this hesitation of like, what are we gonna do? And Pete's like, he looks at the car, and he's like, get in, I'll drive. And I'm like, we would have already been in the car 30 seconds ago. Like,
right.
like expedite this process a little bit.
I think the only way this scene could have been improved is if Pete went, did you get up and go, got out and went? Maybe you're hanking for a hunk of cheese. But that's one of the things about this episode that I totally forgot about is that it's not only a mythology episode because of Perry, it's the mythology episode because this is where they put together
the solar, yeah,
that it's the sunlight that gives him his powers.
Right.
And I have to say, some things about this episode aged very, very well. Performances, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The opening scene of the thing hitting the sun.
Yeah, it's not great.
Whoo, did that look 2003?
That's not great. I do love a good opening Smallville TV broadcast exposition dump. That doesn't happen often, but when it does, you're like, oh, we're in store for something really important here. Clark is obviously very intrigued by it, as he tells his parents, because for once it's something I'm not involved in, some cosmic event that has nothing to do with me. Little does he know at that point. But yes, you put a perfect pin on it, Mike. That the uncovering of and it's Clark that really puts all of it together on this, even more than Martha and Jonathan. You know, often with something like that, it's like as they're trying to uncover something that's going on, Martha and Jonathan are offering up explanations or theories or throwing things out. Maybe it's this, and Clark's like, this started when this started, like maybe this is where it all comes from. Yeah. Which is a fantastic way to weave it into an episode also, and I think it also being the episode where Perry comes in, just peeling back more layers on this show as we got into almost 50 episodes now.
The one of the things that we hadn't really talked about is kind of not even a B story. It's so kind of just to the side. But you mentioned Claire Foster being introduced because of Lex and what Lex is going through, and so we really are seeing more of his kind of breakup. Especially he's got the scene where he blows up on Perry. And then he's kind of shaken when that's all over, and he's just really disturbed by what's went down. You've got the scene where he's meditating to the sounds of the ocean.
Yeah.
And Lana disturbs him. But I'll say this, my mind, the way my stupid mind works, he's got the same CD player that he busted up in that one what is the episode, Derek? The
Rosetta, Insurgents.
Insurgents, thank you.
Yeah.
I was going Rosetta, but I knew it wasn't it. Insurgents, yeah. When he's got the bugs and Clark's like, they could be anywhere, even your stereo. What's the stereo that he took out with a golf club? So Lex is like, I'm going to stick with that brand, solid brand.
There is no shame in being a brand. I'm on the third microwave.
I'm just saying, I'm really glad that Lex is like the rest of us. He gets into something, he locks in.
Yeah, but the difference is that what happened is in the deleted scene is that after he broke the stereo, he went to the closet that's full of nothing but that stereo.
stereos.
Oh, yeah, just put it
Just
right
in
back.
case something happens to it.
He actually did the Kramer Jerry insurance scam. Came back in pieces.
Also, the window had the L, not a V.
No
The
V. But he does. But the scene in question, he is discussing doing some things different with the Office. Steve, I thought about that as it was happening. I was like,
change out the stained glass window.
Yeah, let's change out the stained glass window. Maybe I'll add a V. I don't know. I've got this weird tattoo that was given to me when I was 3. I thought maybe
Just for the heck of it.
Yeah. So at first, obviously, is Perry swerving to miss Clark in the road and hitting the telephone pole. Clark not being electrocuted and then ripping the door off there, and the powers are still good there. He pulls Perry out, but Perry's just sober enough or just not buzzed enough to know something is amiss here. That Clark was able to rip the door off the hinges of this classic Dodge that he's driving around. And but he spends the night in the hospital. He sleeps it off. So he's a little clearer the next morning when he shows up at the Kent farm, even though he's still a little accusatory and still questioning things just a tad. He's willing to write it off if Clark will show him around town, and that of course puts him and Lana at odds when Perry. There you go. See? A lot of country in this episode, which I never really understood because it's like
in the land of the Delta Blues, in the middle of the pouring rain.
it's better if you just let him finish.
The cover, by the way,
Yes,
of Walking
yes.
in Memphis, not the original.
Couldn't afford Mark Cohen. We had to
Won't you look down
Cohen,
on
whatever his name is. Had to go with Lone Star.
Yeah, I got a
But there's Toby Keith, there's Leanne Rhymes, there's some interesting.
Yeah, and there were certain Smallville-isms of this episode that I forget about until I watch the show again. Like the accusatory confrontation between Lex and Clark at the Wild Coyote. It's just like, I'm surprised you're even talking to him, Clark.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh God. Do they have like this in like a Word file and they just copy and pasted it into the new script?
Yeah.
But
It's
the
like that
music-
magnetic poetry on the refrigerator that you just that just form that every time.
Now security, they did not see. They just hovered around us too. But there's a pretty little thing waiting for the king down in the jungle room.
Okay,
when
so-
I was walking
I thought he was gonna
Memphis.
stop.
I appreciate look, dedication to a bit is everything. So
Well, he's got it in spades. I don't know if you know this or not.
I do. I wish they would have played that verse because I could have then said it was a reference to the Lois and Clark.
Yes, to Lane Smith.
Perry White.
Yes.
No, it's just it's funny because most of the music in the show up to this point has been people being very emotional about everything. And the fact that it was country was a little weird. It's just like, this doesn't seem like a country town, but it should be because it is Kansas, but
It's always country at the Wild Coyote.
yeah. it's just-
Here plays piano.
and I do have to ask, is that the only bar in Smallville? Like, is there only one bar on the outskirts of town? Is it like a dry town?
Yeah,
And you go
I always
outside-
thought it was a dry town, and it's right on the county line, or at least the city line, maybe with Granville. But that was always my assumption. It's utilized so much. Now there
Granville
is
means Shelbyville to Smallville.
There is-
Springfield.
right.
I said, ma'am, I am tonight when I'm walking in Memphis.
now there's the bar that they go to in
walking
Red.
with my street feet being off a bill, not my street, but my feet.
But I can't remember if I don't think that's the Wild Coyote because I think they had to
They
go
went, but they
further.
specifically went really far out of town for that
Right.
one
Nope,
because that was
it's-
more of like a
it's-
They went to
college
Granville,
bar.
It's
didn't they?
red.
Didn't they go to?
It's Red. It is the Wild Coyote they go to. It's just a lot more happening place in Red. than it is in Perry. I guess.
Well, they went on a Friday night.
I was going to say a Friday night versus 10 a.m.
The
on the
middle of the
Tuesday.
day.
Yeah.
It's a little. I don't know if you've been to a bar before, but it's a different vibe.
It's a little more
A
depressing.
little more familiar with alcohol.
A little more alcoholic-y, if you know what I mean.
Of course, also the bar from Suspect as well. When Jonathan's been drinking and accused of shooting Lionel, we knew that. But yes, it is also the bar from Red. Something I noticed, I wondered if either of you picked up. Perry is, of course, very tuned into the Wall of Weird. He even tells Chloe, I think we borrowed some of these from you guys. There is a headline. It was like a subhead or a subdeck under a headline in one of the papers that says kryptonite, and I was like, "Wait a minute, what?" Like I peered into it, and sure enough, there is a headline in one of the stories that said something about the use of kryptonite in agriculture. Let me see. I pulled it up. Let me see if I can.
Do you think they just missed that in production, or because no one's calling it kryptonite yet except for Clark?
Well, this is what 4 people call it that. I mean, it's only been been less than a year since we got that title after Rosetta. Yeah, Smallville Ledger. What's causing our agriculture to glow is the name of the headline, and the subdeck is kryptonite could be the cause. And it's like, oh, okay, you messed that one up, somebody. Edna. Somebody at production didn't. Somebody at props. Edna, you're fired.
Kryptonite. They don't call it kryptonite.
It's meteor rock.
And you've got different. You got green and red, but that's all right now.
Maybe silver at some point.
Blue. Yeah, we'll get blue.
She's on sabbatical.
I love you guys.
She's on the sabbatical now.
She had to take a few weeks off because people kept yelling at her.
She can take it.
This is the we hadn't even mentioned
that Edna's a tough bird.
She is. Was she? How long?
She's died like 3 times.
How long has she been around? She keeps coming back. She's like Costanza. We keep firing her. She shows up the next, or she quits and then she shows up the next day.
Why am I picturing the first bailiff from Night Court?
That's exactly who Ed is when I picture her. That's exactly. Steve, we've been the whole episode now, and you've not mentioned Sheriff Adams' infamous line.
Oh, Mr. Ken, I swear to God.
No, not that one. No.
What did she say? She said something about...
Don't call me Chief.
Did she say? Oh, yeah, because he calls her Chief, and she, don't call me Chief.
That's another classic McKeon line from this episode. I think about it like he's hiding something, Chief, and she,
Mr. White, don't call me Chief.
Don't call me Chief. Last night you were trying to get me to get the flying monkeys out of your hospital room. Perry McKeon's definitely on, or McKean is definitely on. You ever get talking to somebody and get an email while you're talking to them? That's weird.
I did this for you.
Maybe that'll get discussed at some point. I don't know what's attached to it. Maybe we should be friends. He's definitely on my Mount Rushmore of Perry's, which, I mean, I guess there aren't that many that you've... There's
John Hamilton.
I was going to say there's 4 good ones anyway, right?
Lane Smith, Jackie Cooper, Michael McKean.
Perry Watkin, who was the Perry from the movie serial.
Yeah.
I recently watched those, and by recently it was like 3 years ago, and I discovered something about myself as a Superman fan is that I don't love everything.
No.
and there are things but I got to say something about that one. Everyone got into a fist fight, even Perry.
And listen, you wanna talk about things that haven't aged well. The Batman serials I revisited not that long ago. Hoo boy, you would expect Warner Brothers to put the disclaimer. These references are from a different time, and to remove them would be.
So Perry White actually originated on the radio show.
Right.
He appeared in the comics soon after that. He was voiced by Julian Noah at first, and I I did a deep dive into the radio show a year or two back. I didn't listen to everything because I have a job, but
Ooh, look at me! I have a job. No, I'm just kidding.
Well,
look at me, I got work. No, I'm just saying. No,
we invited Michael Bailey on the podcast to brag to all of us about this.
No, well, here's
You're jobless. Get better.
For a couple months there, I didn't. So it's more of a thank God. But the thing about the radio show that I keep forgetting about is just how much of it there is.
Right.
Because it was on for like 10 years in various formats.
Wow.
And most of that was 5 days a week. Now, it was only 15 minutes a day, but that's still a lot of episodes. And the biggest thing I discovered about that show is that Daily Planet staff was the most toxic workplace ever. No one believed anyone. You were in like 1946. So these people have been working together for almost a decade. Clark comes in and says something, and Perry's like, I don't believe you.
You work at a newspaper. There's got to be something.
That's how he got the whole reputation for being gruff all the rest of the years. Like, you got to have some kind of skepticism in the newsroom.
But that Perry White was, I mean, he ran for mayor at one point. He had
he did.
He had a valet that was an alien. I mean, it got weird.
Well, there's a Lois and Clark where he runs for mayor, isn't he?
Yes.
Isn't there? Yeah, that's what I was thinking, too.
I believe so. I think that was in season 4.
And then there's also one where it wasn't Elvis's mayor. It was Elvis as president?
No, you're thinking of the alternate season 3 episode
when Clark
that took place on the alternate
Lana.
Earth.
Yeah.
Where Lana was played by what's her name from The West Wing.
But Tempest is running for mayor,
yes.
But isn't Perry also running for mayor?
Yeah, Perry's running for mayor as well, and then Elvis
makes an appearance. Elvis is the president. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So
that's a good episode. I like that episode.
But it's just like one of those things where you look at the history of this character. Like in the comics, it gets really weird. Like he has a cigar that gives him superpowers. Yeah. And there's the one I always go to is that he gets amnesia in one story and learns that Clark Kent is Superman and he's running a criminal enterprise, and at the end he gets his memory back and forgets all of that.
Yeah.
So
nice.
Go ahead.
Did Kryptonite came from the radio show too, didn't it?
Well, yes and no. There was a K-Metal story that Jerry Siegel wrote that was going to blow the bloody doors off, to quote Michael Caine. And basically reveal the identity to Lois, and they were going to work as partners. And DC said, no, we are not doing that. So the apocryphal tale is that it was created to give Bud Collyer a vacation, because when Kryptonite showed up, they could just have another actor like moaning in the background. And in later seasons, that's when they would bring like Batman in for extended stories. And that's not quite true. It's not like an A for A thing. But yeah, Kryptonite, Jimmy Olsen, Perry White, all of these things are things that we get from the radio series. And it really was the George Reeves series where I think he was like cemented in pop culture for several generations. So the reason why I went through all that was I forgot, and I just watched it yesterday. I forgot the chief line, and that did make me laugh as well.
Yeah.
Her and her southern accent.
Yes. One thing I thought about at the time, or I guess later in the show, but in revisiting this episode, was the way, in Promise, when we see Clark super speed from Lana's point of view, is the first time in the show it's not from Clark's POV, kind of, and he just disappears. There's just the puff of air, no sound, and he's gone. And whether or not that would have happened for Perry when he was running away from him at the barn.
The other Smallvilleism that this episode reminded me of is that people will give rides to people for that seem really weird. Like he just shows up, he's like, let me could you drive me somewhere?
Give me your son.
Yeah.
The children, sell me your children. Yes, give me your son, so I don't sue you. That's always good. Never mind the fact that he was driving drunk and clearly should have had a DUI for whatever he blew at the scene of the crime from hitting the telephone pole.
No, I'm more talking about him getting a ride from Lana. Okay.
Yeah, it did. But
maybe...
yeah. Just drive me out of town, and I'll leave you alone forever. I'm sure not.
Let me get into a car with a teenage girl.
Yeah.
There's nothing sus about this at all.
I'm surely not going to jump out of the car and try to jump over the bridge.
I want this is going to be a joke that like 5 people get. I want the deleted scene where he does what Captain America did in that terrible 1990 Captain America film. It's like, I think I'm going to be sick.
Yeah,
you need to pull over.
Pull over. Yeah. Saunders Gorge is, I believe this is the only instance of it in the show. There's several gorges in Smallville. There's the gorge where
Kansas is famous for its gorges.
Yes, you know those gorges that Kansas has, but I believe that they are. There's some reference. It may only be one of them, and I'm trying to think of the episode. Oh my god! So there's the gorge where the drone girl, the bees, where she was like swarmed and fell over. And then there's this one, and then there's one in next season.
Isn't there one in the episode with the kid from Home Improvement? Not the baseball playing kid, but the other one.
Jonathan Taylor Thomas. Dichotic. It was that. I thought
that was the dam. That was
gorge?
At the dam.
I'm getting my dams and my gorges.
Damn gorges. I'll be your damn tour guide.
Sometimes you end up with a gorge because of a dam.
That happens. Yeah. Ask all the damn questions you want.
Where can I get some damn bait?
Where the hell's the damn tour? But the girl Spirit, the girl crashes into a gorge that's filled with meteor, filled with kryptonite. But I believe they're all formed because of large meteors that hollowed out area or whatever. But whatever. That's neither here nor there.
I mean, that's good of you to try to make Vancouver.
Nice no prize there.
little no prize. Okay, well, if nothing else about this episode, to Little Kansas and all the Kansasians in it. Here. Let's talk about an episode that I used to really love, but as I was watching it this time, I was like, not as much as I thought I did. The 50th episode of the series. I would have been fine with Perry being the 50th episode of the series because of, obviously, you have Perry White, which was one of the biggest gets of the show up until that point, and the solar flare, the reveal of that being, the abilities coming from the sun. This one obviously is bigger because of many different things, but it's basically because they let Tom fly. Is the reason this one's the 50th episode. Relic, which aired November 5th, 2003, 21 years ago this week. Written by Kelly Souders and Brian Peterson, who would later be showrunners in the final season of the series. And I didn't like it as much as I did at the original airing. I've revisited since, but I guess I've just kind of glossed over it. But watching it this time, just more in depth for talking about it, I was like, yeah, it's fine. It's really contrived. Like, all these people knew each other. Like, all these people's paths crossed all these years ago. There's a lot of discrepancies with time and stuff. I remember it's one of those episodes that the WB marketed with a title. But didn't, it's not Smallville 1961. It was kind of like the Tempest and Vortex, Smallville, no warning, those kinds of things. This would happen a lot more moving into next season, season 4, when we had stuff like Cryptuck and all the ones that they tried to give us in trailers. But this one was heralded as 1961 and has Jor-El visiting Smallville at that time period at the age of 26, which just so happened to be the age Tom was in season 3 of Smallville.
That was an Obi-Wan Kenobi level of hard years for Jor-El, though, considering like literally 20 years late, 30 years later, he's looking like Julian Sands. I mean, it's just
Yep. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right about that. That the discrepancy of Jor-El throughout the series is always one that you just kind of have to wash off of you.
Well, it's sci-fi time, right?
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
you can go as far as saying by this time, 12 years have passed on your world, but
Yes.
I've been dead for many thousands of
Yes.
years.
Yes.
right. So you can get into all kinds of stuff like that. My thing with this is just the whole idea that Earth becomes this playground for Kryptonians to show up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just
it's trial day. Go down to
Yeah.
Earth.
go to Earth, have fun.
Have your walkabout.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think every Superman series up to Superman and Lois has done this. Like, Lois and Clark had an episode where they were playing different characters set in the past. And I just kind of saw this as like, oh, this is Smallville's version of that. So we're gonna have Lana playing her own
Great
Is it
aunt.
great aunt, yeah, and Clark playing Jor-El or Joe.
But we're not going to let Michael play Lachlan.
And yeah, that might have been hanging a lantern on it a little too much.
That's a hat on a hat.
That is definitely a hat on a hat. No, I it's like one of those episodes where it's not like objectively bad.
No, it's
right?
not.
Like the writing's okay. It's a pretty decent mystery. How they get the mayor in the end showed some like investigative journalism on the part of Clark. It's the Lana going, I still want to be with you, but I'm not going to push portion of this season. And I think more than anything, it's more about furthering Lex and Lionel's story and trying to get us to that point where Lex learns about what Lionel did to his own parents. So like all of that was great. The flashbacks were, I guess they spent some money on the music.
They spent some money on the episode production wise.
Yeah.
I mean, turning it over into 1961, the cars, the paint jobs, the refaces. I mean, the music. I like a little Earth Angel. I mean,
yeah,
I got my Superman 3 and my Back to the Future.
I was going to say Superman
right there,
3.
so
Yeah.
I get that.
So, and I like the idea more than anything that they were showing that as much of a hard case as we've seen Jor-El be, he was in Clark's position at one point where he wanted something and it just went very badly and he's just like, this is all my fault. So I like the kind of mirroring of that. Kristen was great in the flashback scenes. I really liked her. Like at one point they're making out in the car, and I'm like, "How do you make out in a car?" And then I'm like, "Oh yeah, they were boats
benches.
back then."
Yeah, you had all that room. No, there was nothing. There's no cup holders. There was nothing but storage. What you had the whole car.
But just seeing Hiram Kent and the whole, I think I was sent here. It wasn't all. I'm of two minds on that. On one hand, that's cute, but on the other hand, can't things just be like it just happened that way? Like now it's like he sent him to. Basically, this is implying that Jor-El sent his son specifically to Kansas to hopefully be found by this guy that he met, but he ends up destroying the town.
Right.
It's a long shot, but it's not as long a shot as it once was.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Well, it's the playoffs. You got to put it all out there.
I do have one of the. It's not screen used, but it's one of the molds used for the journal for Jor-El's journal over here, which and I remember liking that the whole aspect obviously a lot more. Anytime we got more insight into Krypton and Kryptonian heritage and things like that, that's always one of my favorite aspects of Superman for me. So I remember liking that about the episode. at the time. It's really, for it to be the 50th episode and for there to be so many elements of I mean, Tom flying, we mentioned that and stuff like that. It's really more of a Lana episode than it is a Clark episode, even though he's the one walking through Jor-El's footsteps and envisioning
10 feet off of a pier.
10 feet off of a don't give him you put a quarter in him, he's gonna start back up again. Well, the description calls it retrocognition, which sure, I'll go with that. That's a cool term. I saw retrocognition open for Hootie and the Blowfish in '98.
I thought it was a Nolan film, personally. So
it was a short film for Interstellar. There was one. What was I gonna?
Sounds like car trouble to me. You've got some retrocognition going on there.
you got some retrocognition. That's $800 easy.
It's right in the catalytic converter there. You're gonna want that unretro.
Yeah, well, it's probably okay for the retrocognition to get that situated. It's going to be $800, but then we're going to have to replace the whole manifold that runs into the retrocognition. So you're looking at about $1,300. I love how these places just throw that out casually. These numbers out casually, like. Well, and you're expected not to just look at them like, I believe you just said a number that doesn't exist in my checking account.
Well,
no, I went and checked your account before I came out here. I wanted to make sure you didn't have enough before I gave you the
now bend over.
As I've been on the other end of that, not that I've ever worked in a garage, but I have had to quote people prices that are insane. You have to do it casually, because it sounds insane to you and you have to sell it.
Yeah.
So true. It's like one of those things where I'm thinking that's way too much, but I've got to be like, yep, it's going to be $1,300 to do this.
Mike, you were talking about nobody believing each other at the Daily Planet. One of my favorite things about the character of Pete Ross after he's in on The Secret is no matter how ridiculous whatever he's being sold is, he still doesn't believe it at this point. Like Clark's like, Jor-El was here. I just touched that mailbox and I saw what he saw. Sure you did, Clark. It's like, okay, at some point you're just going to have to lean into this because he hasn't led you astray yet on any of this.
It's just like, you just want to go through. Pete, let me ask you a question. You remember that time that you were bitten by that thing and it made you like lose your inhibitions?
Yeah, you remember the Wrath of Khan earworm, right?
Yeah, you remember that. You remember that? You remember how I stopped your car?
Yeah.
Me? Yeah. Like personally stopped your car?
Yeah.
You remember that? You remember the guy that sucked all the heat out of people?
Hey, Pete, you know those little green rocks? What they do to me? You know those? It's just a rock. But you know how it hurts me? Yeah. You know how just a little red rock completely messes me up? You know how that works. I touched something and I had a memory.
The mailbox, okay? Your super speed give out. Yeah. Like, I started running and I didn't go anywhere and I stopped.
And I looked at you with concern on my face.
And you,
I swear to God, next time I see somebody pulled over on the side of the road looking at their car, I'm just going to lean out and go, "Your super speed give out."
It's my retrocognition.
As opposed to the normal thing that people say now is, you can't park that there.
It's my retrocognition.
I forgot how much I hated the caves.
Oh yeah, so did they. Man, they hated.
Yeah, I was going to say you and them, and the actors.
Because I remember like that seemed to be such a big deal, and then it just wasn't.
Yeah,
but when it was like they had to, I guess because they had the set, they had to use it, so they had to shoehorn something into the caves. And this is one of those episodes you don't want to think too closely about, really, because you're just like, so Jor-El visited Smallville in 1961, and that's when he's sent there as kind of punishment. So the first thing he does is, I'm going to find these caves and I'm going to renovate them for my own personal use.
Yeah, as you do.
But the thing is based on the Kolachi people. No, that's not right. Kolaches are bread with sausage in them.
Kawachi.
The Kilowatchis. No.
No, that's green. That's some weird Green Lantern stuff you're getting into.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Well, anyhow, the native folks with their caves,
Kawachi, the Kawachi Caves.
Kawachi caves. No, Kawachi.
It's got to be your bull.
Watch out.
Hey, life goes
Watch
on.
out now.
Watch out.
Watch out. But so they've got all these ancient myths and prophecies and everything. This is just the hub. This is just like the beaming spot, right? I mean, this is where Thor would show up if it was Heimdall sending him on the Rainbow Bridge.
Yeah.
This is, and so Jarrell is just using the technology that's there and leaving his little journal in there to be found one day, I guess, by whoever comes next. Like, learn from my mistakes. I don't know.
My son. You're not
caves-
born yet.
That's right. The caves really are, almost something out of like a role-playing game, video game type thing, where you spend all this time worried about this one thing, and then you solve it.
Have to go back.
And you move on. And that was the biggest thing in the world.
Yeah.
But now you've moved away from it, and it's no longer active or anything. And I feel like once the fortress gets built, the caves just died.
Yeah.
There was no use for them whatsoever.
No, they should have done a blow up the cave scene or something like.
Well, but
like the last episode of Little House on the Prairie.
that TV. Hey, now listen, Bailey. It all comes back to Superman, right?
What are you talking about?
growing up, we recorded Superman 2 off of the ABC Sunday night movie.
Mm-hmm.
And on that same videotape, because back in the day, children, when you recorded things off of TV, you'd have the craziest mashups on your videotapes. On that same videotape, in fact, before Superman 2 on that videotape, was that TV movie of the last Little House on the Prairie where they blow up the whole town. I have watched them blow up the whole town so many times in my life and then walk away singing Onward Christian Soldiers leading into tonight on the ABC Sunday night movie.
And who played Michael Landon in a biopic? John Schneider.
There you go.
It was a role to die for.
Ah. You tell me he's on the highway to heaven.
Gunsmoke. No, Bonanza.
The Rifleman.
There was a lot more fighting in Highway to Heaven that I remembered when I would watch it every once in a while.
It's a hard road to walk, Bailey. It's a hard road to walk.
No, it's like, this is one of those episodes that it's not like a Thirst, obviously, which is almost so bad. Watching it again, you're just like, oh yeah, this is why this is terrible.
But again, there's stuff that's like, okay, but Carrie Fisher was in that episode.
Yeah.
Like there's stuff that you pull from and like I have memories of that make it better than what on paper it actually is.
And this further storylines, it establishes something to the mythology of this version of Superman, and it brings down the mayor, who wasn't really a consequential character anyways.
The cigarette smoking man from X-Files, William B. Davis, who is only in 2 episodes. This is his second and final appearance on the show.
And it's like enjoyable to watch, but once it's over, it's just like nothing really stays with you overall.
No.
Like I forgot so much of this episode. I forgot the whole him flying in the past to show her that he's, that he has these abilities. I will say that the scenes between them in the barn were kind of
hot and heavy.
Wow, that was a little racier than I remember.
Yeah, it was. If we can't actually get our two leads to be able to do this on the show, we could have them play adult versions of themselves so that it's not as.
And it does that cardinal sin of, we're going to mention a family member we have never mentioned before, and we are never going to mention them again.
Ever. Although we do get Hiram Kent.
Mm-hmm.
Which is canon, yeah. And then
I've been at the Target in Hiram.
Yeah, it's not a bad place to go. Hiram's actually a nice little shopping town.
That's where that's where my retrocognition gave out.
It would, because that road that it's on is just like nothing. 15 billion miles of shopping centers, nothing.
I think there was a good J.C. Penney in Hiram.
I have to.
Are those still open?
Some of it, like 3.
Okay, I have to tell a story, Steve, just while we're on this. It has nothing to do with anything, but it's from this era.
It's Starkville House of L.
It's it's a Starkville story. It's a Raimi story, so you'll appreciate.
I'm in.
We had a guy that would come over for Smallville nights, named Joe Johnson, who was
the guy that directed Captain America.
That's him.
And
The same.
The designer on Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
And Joe was a musician, and he was one of the ones that didn't really give a damn about the show, but liked watching us watch the show. There were several of those, when we would grill out and watch every Wednesday or Tuesday or Thursday, whatever night it was at the time. But at this point, Wednesday. But one time, Joe didn't know an exhaust pipe from a rearview mirror. Cars were just elusive to him whatsoever. So one day he's on campus and his car breaks down. He calls me because, of course, I'm with Raimi more often than not. He's like, "Hey, my car's. Can you come help?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we'll come give you a hand."
Retrocognition
came out. So Raimi and I go to pick him up, and Raimi's like, "Well, let me look at it while we're here." So he pops the hood, but he's like, "I don't think this is the issue." So Raimi climbs under the car. So I'm sitting on the hood of either my car or Raimi's car, and Joe is standing in front of his car with the hood up. And there's some smoke and, all that going on. And another buddy of ours pulls up, and he's like, "Hey, you got car trouble?" Which, again, the stupidest question you could possibly ask. With somebody when there's, the engine is smoking and the hood's up. And Joe, in his most earnest voice ever, that sounds like he knows what he's talking about, goes, "Radiator." And he's like, and the guy's like, "Yep, that's a bitch," and just drives off. It's like, Joe, So for years that was a running gag. Something's wrong with the car? Radiator. But the caves, we couldn't blow up the caves because that was our wormhole to the fortress that only got used, twice after it became the wormhole.
Right.
Every so often. And then eventually it's like, why don't you just run there? You're fine running to Brazil. Just,
exactly.
Just run there. And that reminds me. Remind me to tell you about something when we're done here in a minute.
There.
Don't remind me now. Remind me later. Yeah,
oh,
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for reminding me. I've already forgotten. Bailey, you've read the Miracle Monday and Last Son of Krypton, I know.
Yep.
I think I sent you the other day. I found a hard copy version of Last Son of Krypton.
Derek is backing away from his computer. He's going to his bookshelf.
Which I was
He's
happy
coming
to
back, putting his headphones on.
So I was happy
to that's nice.
Track that
I
down.
like hardcovers.
Yeah. So, but I think it's a book club.
Probably the science fiction book club because they often did hardcover.
Because it's an exclusive hardcover edition. But I've also got Superman 3 that's in that same vein. That's a hardcover. But I liked these because they tried to make them canon. Elliot S. Magan tried to make work them in with everything, but there's something touched on in this one, particularly in Last Son of Krypton, that kind of reminds me of Relic, with the whole idea of the Kents, quote unquote, being chosen to take care of Kal-El.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't want to go down a whole rabbit hole because we know how these, I'm sorry, damn children are about their John Byrne. But was one of Byrne's not earlier things that didn't end up happening kind of in tune with this as well, that Laura actually made it to Earth pregnant?
Yeah, it was the list of 10 things that he proposed that if they didn't say yes or whatever, he wouldn't do it. And one of them was that Laura would be on the ship and give birth to Clark on Earth after crashing and then die of kryptonite poisoning. And Jeanette Kahn and them were like, everything but that.
Yeah.
Because it's a terrible idea.
But the Kents actually help her deliver
Yeah,
Kal-El,
in
right?
that the Kents would have helped her deliver.
Yeah.
So he came up with a better idea, which is there was a snowstorm. They claim that they passed Clark as their own, and a race of ancient evil robots took over the town, and called the Manhunters. And then we're never going to talk about that again either.
No.
So it's just one of those things. The Last Son of Krypton one's interesting because Jor-El comes to Earth and makes contact with Einstein.
Yeah, the probe sent. He's trying to get Einstein to take care of.
And
Kal-El.
Einstein's like, no. So Einstein finds the Kents.
Right.
And he's just like, oh, these are nice people.
Yeah. Einstein's like, too old to begin the fatherhood.
Can't even remember to comb my hair. You think I can take care of a child?
It's a baby.
He's a baby.
So I remember that from reading that as a kid, and I liked that aspect of, Dad, I don't think it was an accident that you guys found me. I think you were chosen.
Boy, did they make that way more dramatic than it was, though.
Yeah. But it is kind of in an episode that is, like you said, going back now, it's like a lot of this isn't touched on again, and it's not really memorable. That was kind of like the big reveal for the 50th episode, as it were. Again, it was an excuse to let Tom fly on screen and get around the no tights, no flights rule, and it was an excuse to have Tom and Kristen be able to hook up on screen, which is obviously what a large sect of the audience wanted, but they were teenagers, so that wasn't great. But letting them play their actual ages as these adults and go to town was perfectly fine. So it was more built out of, I hate to say shock and awe, but it was.
Yeah.
But the episode was kind of formed around what can we get away with that we can't normally get away with.
Yeah, I agree with Bailey though. Watching that barn scene was just a little like, ugh.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like I was watching something I wasn't supposed to watch.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And not because they're supposed to be teen. I understand their age and everything, but it's just like they're. It was the early 2000s. It was CW. Everybody's pretty. Everybody's sexy. I get that. But at the same time, it's like we could do more with this story if we didn't take 5 minutes to watch them just make out in each other's face.
Because the idea that Jor-El is on Earth because his father is punishing him, and he finds this woman that he's attracted to, and it's like it's two people that want more of the life that they're living. And that wasn't, and I get why it wasn't the focus, because you got to judge something for what it is and not what you want it to be. One of the things, and I've talked about this before about Smallville, is that I wanted it to be something it wasn't for its entire run. It was only after it was over that I realized it wasn't, that I went back and went, oh, there's a lot more to the show that I like now. Right. So this is a network show aimed at a young audience, teenagers, early 20-somethings, and also they would talk about it's the dad-daughter show. That was
exactly my point I was about to make. Yeah. And this episode is a great example of that.
Yeah, and it's like one of those things where it is what it is. Yeah, it would have been better if they didn't have that, but there were probably this is a good example of it. The episode where they threw him into the kiln and he walks out and you see his bare backside. Mm-hmm. I remember everyone, like people freaking out about how, like women on the internet freaking out about how, oh, this is what we want to see. Sometimes you're just not the audience for something. Right. Is what I've basically come to the conclusion of. I mean, I agree with Steve. It wasn't as awkward as when my uncle put on A History of Violence, right? As we were all sitting around after my grandfather's funeral, which was a little uncomfortable.
Let's dig in on that, because that's some trauma I feel like you need to unpack there.
Like, am I really watching this scene on the stairs with my dad sitting next to me? I don't need to be here right now.
Oh, God, that's
I need an adult.
That's a stranger danger.
But it's just one of those things where I also realize that sometimes it's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. Like there are people that probably loved seeing Tom and Kristen make out like that, and Kristen and kind of.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
For sure there were.
Yeah.
For sure
And
there
I'm
were.
just not that person.
And that's fine.
So,
You don't have to be.
I just think it went on a little long. Is my opinion. And honestly, every time that Clark and Lana kissed, it was very uncomfortable. Those two just decided we're going to go all in, as though this last kiss will ever have. It doesn't matter what scene it was. It doesn't matter what episode it was. Like, they just didn't know how to do it. Like, let's turn away from the camera, get a nice little stage kiss going. It was, we will eat each other's face.
I mean, if I've learned one thing in 20 years of talking about the show and, 25 years of watching it, there's not a woman that's not a fan of this show that wasn't a fan mostly because of Tom.
I'm going to tell you something. I don't blame her for eating Tom's face off, and I don't blame him for eating her face off. I don't understand. I understand where it all comes from. I'm just saying, watching this episode, it is what it is. But I was like, I think you could have handled it a little bit differently than the big makeout scene. It's not enough to make me mad about it.
Yeah,
I agree with you guys. I think overall this episode's pretty forgettable, unfortunately. And the reveal that you were chosen, it's like, well, whatever came of that? Nothing. Like you said, Derek. Like
nothing.
And later on we're going to retcon everything into Doomsday came with him, and Rickman got to him.
I'll still explain away the Doomsday with the Brainiac of it all, going back in time to Krypton and trying to.
Yeah.
And that's just the danger of any show that goes on as long as Smallville did, is that you've got to feed the beast. I mean, we're talking 22, 23 episodes a season for 10 years.
Well, there's a prime example here is that this was billed as 1961 for Relic. What is Hiram's wife's name? I can't remember in this instance. Jessica Kent. I think that's right. Mm-hmm. Has not yet given birth to Jonathan on the show, but Jonathan's gravestone says 1954. After Reckoning, anytime that we see his headstone, it's 1954. So there's a prime example right there of washing that away. But I like I said, for an episode that when it aired, I was big in on. Going back now, I'm just kind of like, it's fine.
Yeah, it was an event though. That's the thing.
It was an event.
As you said, because season 3 for me was one of the ones where early on I was really plugged into, because Rachel and I were prepping. We got married that December, and our friends who were my best man and her maid of honor, we would go over to their apartment every Wednesday night to watch Smallville. So it was like one of those things where it was not only an event for the show, it was like a big deal for us because we actually had like a social element to it, which we normally didn't have.
Yeah.
So it's like the great thing about these shows sometimes is the memories that are attached to them are better than the actual episode.
Absolutely.
There would not be. I wouldn't be doing this 20 years later had there not been a social element attached to it from the beginning. That's how. If I had just been sitting home alone in my apartment watching this as a college student, I would have never done a podcast. But the fact that there were 3 or 4 of us that started watching it together in high school, and that carried over into college, and then we're grown-ups now. We could stay up all night and do whatever we want to do, and be damned if we don't go to class. Let's grill out, and watch the show with a bunch of people. Like it became, and that's what I love always hearing about from people that watch it, and both of you have these stories as well. Mike just sharing his, and Steve has told his on the show before, that it was, while we might have started it alone, it kind of became this thing, and that's how Steve and I met, and that's how I met you, Mike. And I have such good memories about the show, but some of those good memories about the show are because of what came out of it, and who I got to interact with. I mean, I made this joke as like, if you had told me 20 years ago I would I would still be doing this podcast. A, I would call you a damn liar, but B, like that I got to MC the first ever convention a few weeks ago with major cast members on stage, I would have definitely called you a liar. Like it's just unreal to me.
That is the weird thing, especially for me, is just like who started out very strong on the show, but then in the back half was one of those jerks that was constantly complaining about it. Except for the few times that Steve had me on the show to talk about it, because it seemed disingenuous to come on and crap on everything.
We thank you for holding back.
Yeah. So, and there were times, I mean, Absolute Justice was one of those episodes that I absolutely loved to watch because it was the JSA live action on TV for the first time.
Yeah.
And I remember watching the first episode. I remember watching the second episode, both on VHS tape.
Nice.
Because our DVR died.
Yep.
Like 2 days before the show came on, and I'm like, I'm working that night.
And
have
the
to be
VCR
there.
out of the closet.
So no, it's just I like the idea though, because a lot of representations of Jonathan Kent's father, when they actually show him, is not normally positive. There's a really great book by Tom DeHaven called It's Superman.
Mm-hmm.
That puts Superman squarely in the early 30s, and it's a very, like, if you think Nolan did a realistic version of a superhero, this is that multiplied. And that Jonathan Kent he talked about his dad, and he was a terrible person. So I like the idea that this version, Hiram Kent, is not only somebody who's a good person, he's a good judge of character enough that that's the first thing we see Martha saying about him. Well, Hiram was a good judge of person. We got to believe him. The mystery element was actually better than I remembered it, because when Clark saw that signature in what's his name's office, I was just like, oh, that's clever. I like that. That actually makes Clark look smart. He's not just stumbling through this.
Yeah, I would agree
Well,
there.
I was going to say, for all the continuity things that are an issue, the story as presented is actually a good, fun story.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment when he's talking to Lana and Chloe and finally comes clean and says, I've been having issue. I remember things. I have memories when I touch certain things. And they both look at him like, are you serious? And then they're both just on board real quick, because at this point, we've had 2 years. Chloe's going to be the wall of weird. She's going to buy in quick, but they both buy in really quickly. And so there's a collaborative effort. There is, there's not a ton of keeping the secret, so to speak, And then Clark really shows out there with the cigarette smoking man at the end, where anytime we get to see Clark act with confidence and do his thing with confidence is fun on this show. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's not terrible. My issue really does just come from continuity type stuff, where you have to shoehorn in excuses, I think Obi-Wan is a great example of that, Bailey, that you mentioned right at the outset, where, well, he's living under the desert sun, all these years. And there was even a novel by John Jackson Miller about Kenobi. And at the end of Kenobi, the people he's been interacting with are walking away. And there was a little statement made about, you got to keep yourself covered. This sun will really beat you down. And as they're leaving, there's a line in the book that makes the point of, they saw him take his hood off. And so, as though he was intentionally letting his skin and body get damaged by the Tatooine sun. And so you have to shoehorn things like that into some of these things sometimes. And so it makes the continuity a little rough, but the story itself, I enjoyed. I like the whole, and then you've got the Lionel Lex thing that's going on in the background, where Lionel's like, he's bringing Lex in because he passed his psychology test his psychiatric evaluation with flying colors, and we're so proud of you, and the board's excited, but Lex is basically going to end up just sitting there writing a desk more than anything. And then he discovers about the murder, and Lionel does this great kind of, my parents were murdered.
Mm-hmm.
I always expected, but there's this whole conversation where Lionel's just snowing Lex, and Lex knows it, but he wants to believe Lionel at the same time. It's just, it's masterfully done by those two, that particular scene.
Anything else? Good discussion. Thank you both. That was.
Yeah.
I love when it's just like you look up and you're like, how much time has passed? You're telling me? Professor Bailey, thank you. Tell our listeners where they can find you.
FortressofBailey2.com is the easiest place. For the rest of the run of Superman and Lois, which unfortunately we only have 4 more episodes, the Radio KL, not Radio KL. We've gone through so many names.
I was going to say,
homepage
that's a way back reference right there.
Yeah. Superman homepage live most Wednesdays, unless I have to work. And that's not a brag. That's actually me being kind of angry about the whole thing. Just because things are different now. Steve Eunice, Mark Lax, and I sit and talk about the latest in the news of Superman. A lot of the episodes now are dedicated to Superman and Lois because that's going on. And I have a department on there where we look at what Superman comics were released over the decades.
Yeah.
That particular week, which sometimes there's some good ones, and sometimes I'm like, this is a cover that has characters on it interacting. So,
choices were made.
But no, I'm just really happy that you guys asked me back. I love you both so much. And it, like, as I told you, I think the last time I was on here, this is where the Professor moniker came from.
That is true. And if I knew that, I think I said this last time, is that if I knew that, I forgot it because, but I'm happy that we contributed to that.
I mean, even though I didn't know, that one character, which I'm going to be kicking myself like all day. I'm going to be sitting there working on something with my wife and I'll go,
I just can't believe I knew one and Bailey didn't. It's funny. The books that I have, like that I could sit here just rattle off issue numbers and stuff, are the ones that I read a bunch as a kid. Sure, yeah.
That early 2000s stuff, I was in my 20s, with either getting ready to or marrying my wife and stuff. So I read them once and put them in a box.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
Unless it was huge, like Lex Luthor putting on the power armor, of the little stuff.
I probably remembered it because at some point it was on Krypton site or something from 20 years ago that's somehow found its way in the back of my brain and managed to stay there, pushing out far more important. What is my kid's social security number? Come to think of it, anyway. But I remember
when Superman and Lois pulled out the witty banter show. That was my okay. I get that. That's my Steve Rogers. I understood that reference.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. It's good stuff. All right, good deal. And then, of course, you can find Steve over at Geek Out Loud, the official podcast.
It's just Geek Out Loud. All you have to say Geek Out Loud. Just find Geek Out Loud somewhere.
They're in tandem. Like I have to.
They are, but there's nothing happening on the one.
But I know, but I can't. For lack of a better term, and I apologize, you can't blue ball me to not do the whole. Not say the whole thing.
Are you saying that if you don't say the whole thing, it's edging you?
No, we're not. No. Now look, I didn't. That's wrong.
I can't be a part of the show anymore.
You sit there in your wrongness. You sit there. It's like saying something and not finishing the whole quote. It's wrong if you don't finish the whole other half of it.
I understand.
Even if nothing's going on there or not, it's still part of it. So
it's like saying, check out Michael Bailey at Views from the Long Box.
Yeah.
He took that away from me. Yeah.
It would be like me saying, do it forthwith.
That means now.
Yeah.
Come back next year around this time, Steve.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh.
Maybe. I got some things in the works.
He's cooking.
Depending on how things go.
He's got.
Hey, whatever happened to the major spoilers guys? What if those guys are still around?
The site is. I was thinking about that the other day because a memory popped up of me being excited because Mark Waid read one of my emails out on his show. And like somebody else was like, Mark Waid had a podcast? I'm yeah, for a hot minute. And then I'm like, oh my, so all these things, so major spoilers started coming back to me. And it's just like, Suddenly it's a Pink Floyd song,
That's right. The Wild
Who
West.
here remembers major spoilers?
The Wild West days of podcasting, ladies and gentlemen.
It was a time. It was certainly a time that will never come back because people are now making money of it.
Thank you, celebrities.
When you've got the cast of Ned's Declassified doing a watch through show, it's just like,
yeah. Thanks, Brian Austin Green.
Yeah.
Well, now it's Conan. If it's anybody,
sorry.
it's Conan's fault, right?
Oh, Kevin Smith.
Or Kevin Smith.
More than anything else,
yeah,
I would
probably.
think.
Thanks, Bruce Springsteen.
You can find us online where we are active. SmallvillePodcast.com. Releasing new episodes when we get to them. But continuing our watch through the first half of the series that we didn't get to do. And beyond, maybe.
I want to continue to pat Tim on the back for his social media presence. He does a great job.
Tim is a machine. I'm not convinced that he's not a machine, right?
After that
Yes.
last episode, neither am I.
Why? Do tell.
I believe that was episode 14.
Yeah.
Hey, 51's not there either.
It's been leaving at the 51-minute mark. Steve coughed, and he really is. His recall is amazing. He does a fantastic job helping produce this show. And you can see his handiwork online on Twitter and X for now, at Smallville Podcast. And at Shoe Smallville. On Instagram, we are at Smallville Podcast. On TikTok, we are at Smallville Podcast. And I know he would want me to mention now that you can also find us on Threads and Blue Sky at Smallville Podcast. What? The TikTok?
Hey, everyone, also coming soon, Derek and I are writing the reboot of the Small Wonder television show. We're working on the pilot right now.
Go to hell, Steve Glosson.
Good night, everybody.